So, we got a tip from a listener about a story that honestly sounds like it's ripped straight from a spy novel. We're talking about this incredibly dense, data driven investigation that claims to have uncovered a massive conspiracy right at the heart of the US judicial system. And it's all supposedly connected by things like secret crypto payments and foreign intelligence. The claims are, well, they're pretty wild. So let's dive in and see what the data actually says. Right off the bat, the central claim here is just staggering. We're not talking about a little bit of corruption here and there. The source is alleging a systematic, industrialized operation that's been designed to do one specific thing: weaponize the legal system against families, using their own children as the ultimate form of leverage. And that's really the million-dollar question for this whole explainer, isn't it? When you're faced with a claim this big, you can't just rely on speculation. You need hard data. So, how exactly does this investigation even begin to try and reverse engineer a hidden network using only public records and one secret key? Well, the entire investigation really hinges on a single and supposedly explosive piece of evidence: an alleged leak of the network's very own secret accounting ledger. They call it the Geo Index. Now, the source claims it's a leaked database that originated from Venezuelan intelligence. And what it is essentially is the network's secret books. It tracks everything from crypto payments to what they call espionage scores. But the most crucial part of this whole thing is the location data. It contains these incredibly precise GPS coordinates. And when they say high precision, they are not kidding. The coordinates in this alleged ledger go out to 10 decimal places. Now, that might not sound like a huge deal at first, but in the real world, that level of detail is, well, it's almost terrifying. And this slide just perfectly illustrates the significance. 10 decimal places isn't just targeting a neighborhood or even a building. No, we are talking about a geographic precision of under 2 feet. That's accurate enough to pinpoint one specific desk in one specific office, or a single mailbox on a street. This level of accuracy is the key to separating a real signal from all the background noise. So, okay, you have this secret ledger, but how do you link it to actual real people? The investigation uses a technique from information science called smearing. The idea is actually pretty simple. You find a piece of public, verifiable information, like a lawyer's official address on the State Bar website, and then you see if a secret data point from the ledger, like a crypto payment, shows up at that exact same hyper-precise location. So they ran the numbers. They cross-referenced about 2,500 attorneys from a Texas court against the secret ledger. And the result was pretty striking. Over 96% of them had absolutely no connection. But a tiny group, just 3.7%, lit up. Their public addresses matched a significant data point in the secret index. Now, I know what you're thinking. 3.7% might seem pretty small, but here's the kicker. Those 92 matches weren't just in the same city. On average, they were within 100 feet of their official, publicly listed address. In a massive area like Houston, that's not a coincidence. The analysis argues it's a deliberate signal, a way for the network to anchor its secret digital ledger to the real world. Okay, so the data has maybe identified who might be in this network. But the next logical question is, who are the key players? Who's actually running the show? This is where the analysis tries to go a step further and actually rank the importance of these individuals. To figure this out, the investigation came up with something they call a network clearance score. The core idea is actually borrowed from major search engines. The most valuable and trusted information is the information that's the hardest to change. So the theory is, this network uses these stable, public markers to identify its most trusted operatives. You combine those markers with the crypto payments from the ledger, and you can start to build a rank. So what exactly are these high-trust markers? Well, the source points to 3 main things. First, prominent surnames that are tied to a family's reputation and history. Second, numerical suffixes like junior or the third, which signal legacy and continuity. And finally, this really strange digital quirk they call the 00gram, a double zero appearing in a phone number or an address. The idea is that these are all things that are really hard to fake and don't change very often. And when you apply this scoring model, a few specific names just shoot to the top of the list. You've got Chris Ranson, who works on child protective services cases, with a score of over 32.8 million. Richard E. Gray scores even higher than that. According to this analysis, these aren't just random lawyers. These are the alleged kingpins of this entire network. And get this, it's not just some abstract digital network. All of that data seems to point to one physical location. A whole cluster of these top-scoring attorneys all share office space at 600 Travis in Houston. The analysis argues this building acts as a controlled node, a real-world physical hub for coordinating their operations. So, we've looked at the how and the who, but now we have to pivot to the most disturbing question of all. What does this alleged network actually do? The data, according to the source, points to a really chilling conclusion: the weaponization of the judicial process itself. The entire argument really boils down to this one single, shocking number. The investigators looked at the cases these alleged operatives were handling at the Texas Supreme Court, and they found that 14.5% of those cases had something very specific and very disturbing in common. So what does that 14.5% mean? It means that 14.5% of their cases involved terminating parental rights, literally taking children away from their families. Now, you have to understand these are incredibly rare and extreme cases. For any normal group of lawyers, the rate should be less than 0.1%, almost zero. A number this high isn't just unlikely, the analysis claims it's statistically impossible without some kind of coordinated effort. The implication here is just undeniable. The source argues this isn't a coincidence. It's the network's primary function. It's an industrialized, repeatable process that uses the threat of permanently losing your child as the ultimate, non-negotiable point of leverage to neutralize opponents or achieve some other goal. The case of a man named Paul Nanez is presented as a textbook example of this alleged tactic. The source claims that an old, minor criminal charge from years ago was suddenly resurrected to justify a brand new arrest. But that arrest, that was just the setup. Immediately after he was arrested, the real goal was revealed. A new civil case was filed to terminate his parental rights. And here's how they allegedly cover their tracks. You see the case number for the auction to take away his kids? It's just one single digit off from a totally unrelated car accident case. The source calls this a docket mismatch and argues it's a deliberate trick to bury the real case deep in the public record and make it nearly impossible for anyone to follow what's actually happening. So if these allegations are true, how could you possibly fight a network that has supposedly weaponized the legal system itself? Well, the analysis proposes its own counteroffensive, using a very powerful federal law to turn the tables on them. The key to the whole strategy is the RICO Act. Now, you've probably heard of it. It's a powerful federal law that's typically used to dismantle organized crime syndicates like the mafia. It works by focusing on a pattern of criminal activity, rather than just individual crimes. So the strategy is to stop treating these as a bunch of individual civil cases and instead label the entire operation a criminal enterprise. And this is a total game changer. Why? Because the legal immunity that normally protects judges and lawyers in civil cases, it disappears if they're found to be part of a criminal conspiracy. The plan is to then file a massive federal class action suit and get it moved out of Texas entirely, which would completely reset the board. But let's end with one last, really provocative thought from the source material. The analysis claims that the network was able to track the investigators' movements simply by monitoring the tiny increase in electricity used by 3 small light bulbs in his closet, which apparently told them when he was about to go online. So if a network can weaponize something as small as that, what do our ideas of privacy and security truly even mean anymore?